Hey guys, Polo back here, and I wanted to do something a little different. So all we've done up to now is Pokemon content, two Let's Plays, and then so a couple random gameplay videos for me and my friends. But I play a lot of Hearthstone. It's one of the games I play the most, and I wanted to just talk about cards from the new expansion that was really announced today, Hearthstone Voyage to the Sunken City. Naga themed, underwater themed cards. It was really cool. So we're gonna go through the cards. I want to maybe try to do this each day cards are revealed up until the end of the reels for the announcement. And so this is announced before the core set. They announced the core set would come later than usual. And that means the rotation of the couple older sets like Skullman's Academy, and I think like maybe Dark Moon Fair. I'm not sure which sets are rotating. But I want to talk about so new expansions in Hearthstone, new keywords, new minion types. This one actually has two new keywords, a new minion type. Has a lot of stuff. So we're just gonna jump straight into it. So one of the new type of cards, minion types, called Colossal. And so here's one of the Druid legendary, 7 mana, 6/5. Stats are okay for a 7 mana card, but the coolest part was Colossal is that when you summon a Colossal minion, it actually comes in multiple parts. So here you have Kolok and then Kolok Shell, which is a 0 attack, 8 health, and the cards kind of interact with the main piece. And so this one is Kolok, immune while you control Kolok Shell. And this is a taunt, death rattle, gain 8 armor. Taunt, for people that are unfamiliar, it means you have to attack that minion before you can attack anything else, other minions or face. And so even though you can tell, like, it's really cool. I love kaijus and just big monsters in general, and this is so cool. You can, like, the art goes together for the different pieces. And so obviously big druid, big beast, druid beast, a lot of synergy there. Maybe not so much for like their higher cost beasts, but lower cost beasts do too. And it's just a really cool type. And so I think this card will be decent. I'm not entirely too sure. Wild, I don't really know. I don't know the support's there for it. It definitely seems more like a standard card. I play a lot more Wild, so some of my opinions might be geared towards there. But so next card for Demon Hunter, Zalog of the Abyss. I'm probably gonna announce like half these cards wrong. I apologize if I do. But it's a 7 mana, 3/6. Stats are horrible, but this one's a Colossal +4. So +4 means that 4 different minions would get summoned with it, like parts of it. +1 for Colossal for Kolok Shell. But Zalog of the Abyss. So when you play this card, it summons 4 of these stalks, and it's at the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. And so Zalog, it states that at the start of your turn, increase the damage of its stalks by 1. So this deals 1 damage of the 4 different parts, deal 1 damage. That's 4 pings. And so the next turn, the pings would be +1 damage, so it'll be 2 damage pings. And I think this card is really good. I think this will be really good. Something that's really different is that, oh, my bad, actually I clicked the button, that these aren't battle cry related. The stags aren't. So if you summon them from your deck, or they get summoned from your hand by a different card effect, the parts will always get summoned with them, which is really big in stuff like Big Demon Hunter, which has a lot of support. So cards like Sigil of Reckoning, at the start of your next turn, summon a random demon from your hand, Pit Commander from your deck, and Fell Summoner from your hand. If those just get summoned to the field, it brings the pieces with them. So it's not Battlecry related, which is huge. It's really big for things like a big Demon Hunter, Dual Paladin, Menagerie decks. So I think if N'Zoth brings this back as a demon, it also brings these parts back. I think, which is really insane. But you also like can bring back just a stock instead of the actual like main body. So it runs the risk. And it's really cool. I think with the way that the cards are and like the art, so the art will always be in this order. I think means like if you have board space filled up, let's say you have 4 minions already, you summon Zalog and then 2 stalks. I think it determines the order based on the art. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure we'll see more examples from it in video. But I think this would be a really cool card. Really excited. I don't know how it's going to interact with something like Carry a Felsoul that transforms into the minion in your deck. I don't know if it's just going to be the main piece or if it's going to bring the parts with it. I'm not entirely sure. So, next, neutral minion, Tuskguard Trawler, 2 mana, 2/3, pirate. Battlecry Dredge, and this is the big new keyword of the expansion. Every expansion brings a big keyword mechanic that they play around. And so, what Dredge does is that it'll send one of three, it'll look at one of the 3 cards at the bottom of your deck, and it'll bring that card and replace and put it on top of your deck. It's kind of like a reverse scribe from Magic the Gathering. Look at the top 2 cards of your library, put any number on the bottom of your library, and the rest on top in any order. So it's a really cool way to look for different cards, combo pieces, a big taunt against aggro, or a big finisher in aggro against, like, Heal Paladin or something like that. So, really cool mechanic. I actually like this a lot. I wasn't the biggest fan of the keywords from last year. Honorable Kill and Frenzy were kind of whatever. Tradable's really cool, but yeah. And so, another big thing is that there's a new minion tribe, Naga. And this is a mage 2 mana 2/3. If you cast a spell while holding this, discover a spell. I think, especially in standard and mage, I think this would be really cool. Discover, for people that don't know, it discovers 1 of 3 cards from your class that is not in your deck. And so, stuff like Venomous Scorpid, Wandmaker, just discover cards have always been really big and played. In standard and wild, not as much. But I think this is a really cool card. And so, the Naga Minion Tribe, what they did when they first introduced stuff like Mech and Elemental, they went back into a lot of older cards that fit the theme and never had the minion tag. So, like Zola the Gorgon is a card, very popular card, especially in the wild format. But they're going back, and this is footage released today, I think on their stream. I think it was one of the Asian streams. So they're giving Zola the Gorgon the Naga tribe, which makes me think it might be in the new core set, which would be really cool. I love this card. Zog, Zola off Reno just to stay alive. It has a lot of uses and applications, which has made this such a versatile card, which has been, it's used so much in Wild today. So the next mage card, Azuron Sweeper. Now this is a big theme that's been in a couple cards already. Of course, it fits the ocean theme. Put a Sunken Sweeper on the bottom of your deck. It's also a mech, by the way. And so there's a lot of cards that put the card on the bottom of your deck, where the synergy that they want you to show is you look for a Dredge card, where you send like your big cards to the bottom of your deck, and then you dredge it with a different card, like the Trawler from before, right here. And so you dredge after you send something to the bottom of your deck with Azuron Sweeper, so you can bring it to your hand the next turn. And so Sunken Sweeper, it adds 3 random mechs to your hand, which is the same stat line as 3, same cost. And obviously the variability of the mechs is, in Wild is much greater. You have a lot more worse mechs than you would in Standard. It's kind of similar to why Deca Lunacy was so good at the beginning of the year before it got nerfed. So I think it's a really cool card. I don't know how played it will be in a lot of mage decks, but it's really cool, like, thematic wise, to play off with Dredge, and then the whole there's just more cards that we'll show later on that does this. And so here's the new Paladin Legendary, 2 mana 2/3. Alright stats, decent stats for its cost, but the effect after you cast a holy spell on this, cast it again on another friendly minion. So thank God live rooms are rotating from Standard, because this sounds crazy. So if you don't know, live rooms are a kind of card that they're buffs or just effects you cast on your minions, where it, for example, the most common one, Library of Wisdom, give a minion +1/+1 in Death Rattle, add a Library of Wisdom spell back to your hand. And so people would use stuff like Altar Attendant an Ardworth Truth Seeker to reduce the cost of your Librams. And so you could get really cheap Librams of Hope, restore 8 health, summon an 8/8 Guardian with Taunt and Divine Shield. Divine Shield, for people that don't know, is a protective shield over your minion that it has to be hit in order before it can take any damage, and it has to be hit again. And so like stuff like Ivor of Justice was good to clear minions with a 1/4, and then you would have like Justicar to give all spells you cast on minions back to your hand, so you just get a ton of Librams of Wisdom, because they turn into eventually 0 mana, 0 cost buffs that kept coming back to your hand when they died. So you could have, like, in a wild, in a Libram deck, you could put down Kataria Lightblade and keep casting buffs over and over on your minions, and then they get casted again on another friendly minion, just buffing up your board, especially with hand buff Paladin being really popular in Wild right now. Like Reno hand buff Paladin was the deck I used a lot, which is really fun. This could be a crazy include in one of those decks. It's really similar to something, a card called the Vorax, which was an older card, I think, from Dredge to Ngoro, which whenever you casted a buff spell, it would summon a 1/1 that would cast the spell on that. So it's basically similar to that without casting the 1/1 and taking cards up in your deck. So the next Paladin card, 3 mana 2/5, Beast, Shimmering Sunfish. I love the art on this. Battlecry, if you're holding a holy spell, gain Taunt and Divine Shield. So I think this would be something, if Librams were still in Standard, I think this would be really good in a deck like that. A big, beefy minion, really hard to get through. You just keep buffing it and smacking it, turning into a big beef stick, big stat stick. I think it's a really cool card. I don't know how good it'll be in. I think it'll be good in hand buff Paladin. It's relatively cheap cost for a bunch of stats, and Librams are holy spells. All of them are, the ones that aren't minions. So there is one Libram card I missed here. It's a weapon, which keeps you corrupt. If you corrupt it, you cast a card that costs more than its cost at the time while it's in your hand. It gains a second effect, and that second effect was Life Steal, which gives you health back for the amount of damage you cause. It's not as used as much as the other Libram cards, which is why I left it out. But I think this would be a really cool card. So, Priest, 1 mana, epic spell, epic purple on the card, Serpent Wig. And just so people that don't know, you can run 2 copies of every card in your deck, except legendaries, which you only run 1 copy of. So, this one is give a minion +1/+1. If you played a Naga while holding this, add a Serpent Wig to your hand. So, let's say you play Zola on a card that you've played, and then so you played a Naga card. So when you play this buff on a minion, you get this a copy added back to your hand. So if you had like multiple Naga minions, I'm sure there will be a lot more printed coming out in the next couple days for support. And then you just keep having Serpent Wig to keep buffing minions out over and over and over. This could be good in Miracle Priest if Nagas could fit in there. Obviously, I know some of those older cards in Priest are rotating, but in Wild, if there is a good enough Naga support, you could run this in one of those decks. Boom, mana cost down to 0. Just keep buffing them, and it keeps giving you spells back to your hand, and then you can use a Gadgetin Auctioneer, which draws a card every time you use a spell. So it has potential. I think it depends on how much Naga support it can get. So I don't know if it'll be the greatest card. I think the art is really cool though. So let's go to Rogue, 5 mana 4/4, Bootstrap Sunken. It's a pirate. So combo is an effect that's active if you've used another card before it that turn. So this is put an enemy minion on the bottom of your opponent's deck, which, I mean, you force them to dredge for it, or it's just gone for a while. And this has the potential to be really crazy. So, like, putting an enemy minion on the bottom of your opponent's deck, like, ignores death rattles. It's basically like a silence put on the bottom of your deck to get rid of it, like kind of removal. So it's almost like just a better version of Kidnapper, which is return the minion to your opponent. It's literally just a better version of Kidnapper. Like, it doesn't have like the 5 mana attack stat, but you just put it to the bottom of your deck instead of adding it to your hand, and it's cheaper. Kidnapper has been played in a long time. I don't even know if it really ever was when it first came out. And it's kind of like better than Vile Spine Slayer or different because this is Destroy It, which can trigger death rattle effects like Hadronox. Hadronox, this druid card that resummons all your taunts when it dies. But Bootstrap Sunken just sends it to the bottom of your opponent's deck. So, really cool card. I don't know how used it's going to be. It's 5 mana. But, which is like sometimes you don't like 5 mana cards. You really want cheat cards in Rogue, especially stuff like Tempo, Miracle Rogue. But, crazy disruption card when used in the right spot. So Warlock, 4 mana 4/4, a classic. Bloodscent Vilefin is a Murloc. Battle card Dredge, and if it's a Murloc, change its cost to health instead of mana. So basically, it's really similar to an older Murloc card that's rotated a while ago called Sea Devil Stinger, 4 mana 4/2, which is the next mana you play this turn, costs health instead of mana. It's literally just better in all ways. Better stats, better effect, because it's the same effect. Actually, no, a different effect, because this is just the next one you play. So this is one, it's Dredge. So if you're playing a big Murloc heavy Warlock deck, just go to the bottom of your deck, look for a Murloc, and then put it on top of your deck, and then it can cost health instead of mana, which is really big in Warlock. They have a lot of cards that manipulate their health total. I know so a lot of them are rotating to Wild, but you can throw both of these and are like, oh, Warlock or Murloc card or deck. I wonder if there's going to be a Colossal Murloc card that Warlock gets. That'd be really cool. But if they get more support, this could be a serious archetype in Standard at least, like really similar Zoo deck. But cool card. I really like the art. The art, like he's just eating a jellyfish. Purple's my favorite color. I love the theme of this expansion. I don't really know much about Nagas. I haven't played much World of Warcraft going into it, and like the whole underwater theme, but it's been really cool. So, neutral legendary. Sir Finley's back. Sir Finley Sea Guide. So this is kind of a crazy card. I like this one a lot. Swap your hand with the bottom of your deck. So I have to imagine you take all the cards you've dredged to the bottom of your deck during the game, Colossals, synergy cards, big finishers, removal, and then boom, you play Sir Finley later in the game. I have to imagine it's the same amount of cards in your hand that get swapped to the bottom of your deck. So let's say you have like 6 cards in your hand. You throw Sir Finley down, you have 5 in your hand, swaps the 5 with the 5 bottom of your deck. That could be kind of crazy. You just have a big combo next turn, big buffs, removal, just push for a win. It's different than the other 2 previous Sir Finley cards that were hero power based cards, which is cool. Sir Finley of the Sands, no duplicates, upgraded power, hero power. So I wonder if the other League of Explorers, Reno, Elise, I love Elise, I hope she gets another card, and Bran, that'd be cool if they have new cards in this expansion, but Sir Finley Sea God is really cool. It's my favorite Finley card so far. So, Blade Master Okani, 4 mana neutral minion, legendary, 2 attack, 6 health, and actually, every expansion has a legendary, neutral legendary, that you just log into the game after the expansion's been revealed, and you just get this card for free, and you can just play it. Blade Master Okani is that card for this expansion, so if you just log on to Hearthstone now, or even if you just make an account and play, you'll automatically get this card. And this card is Battlecry. Secretly choose to counter the next minion or spell your opponent plays while this is alive. So this is the first time ever in Hearthstone we've had kind of a counter spell for minions. And so you just choose to counter the next minion or spell. Like, let's say late in the game you have a big board, you're pushing for lethal, and so you drop a Blade Master Okani and you choose to counter minions. And so your opponent would, like, maybe let's say they have like a lurker from below if they're playing like a shaman deck with like some kind of control aspects. They would have to play another minion first to just get completely countered, which means no death rattles go off. It's just as if it's never been played. It's like Counterspell, one of the most common mage spells. It's been in the game since launch. When your opponent casts a spell, counter it. It's as if it was never played during the game. I apologize. But, so, it doesn't, like, N'Zoth, summon your minions that died this game, or Death Rattle minions, or minions of the different minion schools or minion tribes. It just doesn't happen. So, I'm kind of curious how this works with Shudderwalk, which is a big shaman finisher. Repeat all of the battle cries from cards you played this game. I don't know if it just chooses the one that you played earlier in the game, spell or minion, or if you just does like a random effect kind of, where it just randomly chooses one. I don't know how, or it doesn't work at all. I don't know how that's going to work. And so, just to give more context to Shudderwalk, so battle cries are like one of the most common keywords. It might be the most common keyword in Hearthstone. And so, Shaman decks, a big archetype, ever since Shudderwalk's release, is one of the best cards ever printed. If people will play different battle cry synergy cards, so like Serenite Chain Gang, Taunt, summon a copy of this minion. So when you would play Shudderwalk, which repeats all battle cry cards you play this game, it would summon 2 Shudderwalks. And then Grumble World Shaker, return your other minions to your hand, they cost 1. So it would throw the copy of Shudderwalk to your hand. And so it kind of creates like an almost infinite loop of Shudderwalks you can play, especially with like freeze effects that freeze your opponent's board out, and you just put them in a constant like deadlock and win that way. Just to give context to Shudderwalk, but to bounce back to Blade Master Okani, I don't know how that'll work in that deck. I don't think Blade Master Okani will be that great. I think it's just a worse version of Lotheb, which is one of like the best cards. It's the best tech card ever made. One of the best cards ever made. Battlecry, enemy spells cost 5 more next turn. Obviously doesn't interact with minions the way this does, but it's just, this is using aggro decks like Shadow Priest right now, just to make sure that your opponent has a really hard time reacting to your board to end a game. It's like, it's a cool kind of disruption because your opponent can play around it, but it's like difficult for them to. But I'm not sure. I think it'll be hard to watch for. It's something that can be watched for right now since it's playable now. So we'll have to see. Now the next neutral, a lot of 4-mana legendaries so far. 4-mana 4/5. Put 3 Colossal minions on the bottom of your deck. So just 3 random Colossal minions from different classes. Really cool card. This is really similar to Envoy Rustwix, which came out with the Madness of the Darkmoon Fair mini set. It's just shuffle 3 random prime legendary minions in your deck. It doesn't have random like it does from Ambassador Phelan, so I don't know if it's your own Colossal minions. I kind of doubt that'll be the case. I think it's just 3 Colossal minions in general. To the bottom, this one's just randomly shuffled through there. So that'll be really cool. Some cool synergy is you could drop like Lorekeeper, Pokelt, so you can kind of like play the Phelan, and then play Pokelt, which is reorder your deck from highest cost card to lowest cost card, to shoot those cards back up, the really expensive ones, to play, or dredge them. So it's a really cool card. I really like the Colossal Minions a lot. Really cool cards. I love the flavor of this expansion. I think it'll be really cool. And yeah, as more cards will get revealed, I'll talk about them. Don't take my opinions seriously at all. People are always wrong with cards when they're first introduced. People thought Corridor Creeper would be terrible. It turned out really good, had to get nerfed. You know, people are wrong about cards all the time. But it's fun to talk about them. And yeah, thanks. It was a fun.